All right, are you ready? Excited about your new book?
Yes, I am.
Ladies, grab your coffee and settle in because Christine Brown just dropped a social media bombshell that has the Sister Wives universe absolutely buzzing with anticipation. Just days ago, our favorite escaped polygamist wife posted what can only be described as the most tantalizing book teaser we've seen yet. And honey, it's got everyone wondering just how deep she's planning to dig into the family's most guarded secrets. Christine shared a series of promotional slides for her upcoming memoir, and buried in those glossy marketing materials was one line that made my jaw absolutely drop to the floor. "I can't believe I finally had the courage to write what I did," Christine confessed to her followers, and you could practically feel the collective intake of breath from Sister Wives fans everywhere. This isn't just your typical memoir marketing speak, ladies. This is Christine Brown telling us she went there, wherever there happens to be. And from the whispers circulating in fan circles, allegedly one of the biggest targets in her literary crosshairs is none other than the infamous Coyote Pass property saga. Sources close to the situation claim that Christine's book doesn't just touch on the family's financial debacles, it allegedly exposes them in excruciating detail, with Coyote Pass taking center stage as Exhibit A in what insiders are calling a masterclass in fiscal irresponsibility. We're talking about the same property that was supposed to be the Brown family's promised land, their polygamist paradise where all four wives would build their dream homes and live happily ever after in their carefully planned compound. Instead, according to rumored excerpts that have allegedly been shared in publishing circles, Christine paints a picture of financial chaos, backroom dealing, and decision-making that reportedly left certain wives holding massive bags, while others seemingly sailed through unscathed. The timing of this revelation couldn't be more explosive, coming just as Robyn finds herself as Cody's only remaining wife, presumably hoping the family's messiest chapters would stay buried forever.
All of the different emotions, and I dug real deep, and there are some secrets and some nitty-gritty stuff, and I hope you love it.
But Christine Brown didn't become America's favorite sister wife by keeping quiet about injustice, and if these rumors prove accurate, she's about to serve up a tell-all that could reshape everything we thought we knew about how the Brown family operated behind closed doors. The question isn't whether Christine will spill the tea about Coyote Pass, it's how much scalding hot truth she's prepared to pour, and apparently even she's surprised by her own courage. Remember when Cody Brown first unveiled his grand vision for Coyote Pass back in season 14, painting this dreamy picture of a polygamist paradise where all his wives would finally have the space and freedom they deserved? The man was practically giddy as he walked that raw land, gesturing wildly at empty desert and spinning tales of custom homes, shared gardens, and a central gathering space where his massive family could come together in perfect harmony. It was supposed to be the Brown family's fresh start, their escape from the chaos of the Lehigh days and the cramped quarters of their Las Vegas rental homes. Cody sold this vision hard, ladies, and I mean hard. He talked about how each wife would get to design her dream home, how the children would have acres to roam and explore, how they'd finally have the privacy and space that plural marriage required to truly flourish. The way he painted it, Coyote Pass was going to solve every problem the family had ever faced, from sister-wife jealousy to overcrowded living situations to the constant scrutiny of neighbors who didn't understand their lifestyle choices. But according to sources familiar with Christine's upcoming memoir, the reality of Coyote Pass was allegedly far different from Cody's glossy sales pitch, and Christine reportedly has receipts to prove it. Insiders claim her book reveals that from day one, there were warning signs about this property purchase that certain family members chose to ignore, while others allegedly raised concerns that were dismissed or overruled in ways that would later prove financially catastrophic. The original plan called for 4 separate lots, each designated for one wife's future home, with careful consideration given to views, privacy, and access to the main road.
Christine just posted some marketing for her upcoming book, and on one of the slides, she says,
it was supposed to be fair, equitable, and designed to minimize the kind of sister-wife drama that had plagued the family for years. Christine allegedly writes about how excited she initially was, how she spent hours walking her designated plot and dreaming about the life she'd build there with her children. But dreams have a way of colliding with reality, especially when you're dealing with complicated family dynamics, limited financial resources, and what Christine reportedly describes as decision-making processes that were anything but democratic. According to rumored excerpts, the Coyote Pass dream began morphing into something entirely different, almost immediately, with changes and modifications that allegedly benefited some family members while leaving others scrambling to keep up. What started as a symbol of unity and fresh beginnings reportedly became a source of division that would ultimately contribute to the family's spectacular implosion, and Christine Brown is apparently ready to tell us exactly how it all went so terribly wrong. What makes Christine's upcoming revelations about Coyote Pass so potentially explosive is that she wasn't just a casual observer of the family's property decisions, she was allegedly right there in the thick of it all, witnessing conversations and financial discussions that the cameras never captured. Sources claim Christine's memoir pulls back the curtain on what really happened during those crucial early months after the land purchase, when the family was supposedly working together to turn Cody's vision into reality. According to whispers in publishing circles, Christine writes about being present for numerous family meetings, where the Coyote Pass plans were discussed, modified, and sometimes completely overhauled, often without input from all the wives who would be affected by these changes. She reportedly details conversations where certain family members pushed for alterations to the original layout, allegedly arguing for better views, more privacy, or premium positioning that would inevitably impact everyone else's building sites. Christine's insider perspective allegedly extends to the financial side of things as well, and this is where her revelations could get particularly messy for certain family members.
I can't believe I finally had the courage to write what I did.
Insiders claim she was privy to discussions about who would contribute what toward various expenses related to the property, from initial surveys and soil testing to road improvements and utility installations. According to rumored excerpts, these weren't always the collaborative, fair-minded conversations that viewers might have assumed were happening off camera. What's particularly intriguing about Christine's alleged account is her reported focus on how Robyn's influence grew during this period, with sources claiming the memoir details specific instances where Robyn's preferences and concerns seem to carry disproportionate weight in family decision-making. Christine allegedly writes about watching dynamics shift as Cody became increasingly focused on ensuring Robyn's happiness and comfort, sometimes at the expense of agreements that had already been made with other wives. The timing aspect is crucial here too, because Christine was reportedly present during the period when the family's financial situation was becoming increasingly precarious, yet certain spending decisions related to Coyote Pass allegedly continued unabated. She claims to have witnessed conversations about prioritizing certain improvements and expenses, while other family members were struggling with basic necessities, creating what she reportedly describes as a deeply unfair distribution of both financial burden and benefit. Perhaps most damaging of all, sources suggest Christine's book reveals that she raised concerns about various Coyote Pass decisions multiple times, only to be told her worries were unfounded or that she needed to trust the process, advice that allegedly proved disastrously wrong as financial pressures mounted. Now here's where Christine's memoir allegedly gets absolutely nuclear, because according to sources familiar with the manuscript, she doesn't just hint at financial irregularities surrounding Coyote Pass, she reportedly lays out specific examples of what she calls financial shell games that left certain wives bearing disproportionate costs, while others seemed mysteriously insulated from the mounting expenses.
Her session recording the audio version of her book, and she was massively shading Cody and Robyn.
We're talking about detailed breakdowns of who paid what, when they paid it, and how those financial arrangements allegedly shifted over time in ways that benefited some family members at the expense of others. Insiders claim Christine writes extensively about property-related expenses that were supposedly shared family costs, but somehow ended up being shouldered primarily by the wives who were already struggling financially. She allegedly details instances where emergency repairs, survey costs, and development fees were presented as temporary loans that certain wives would cover until family finances improved, except those reimbursements reportedly never materialized, even as other family members continued spending freely on personal luxuries. The most explosive allegations reportedly center around loan arrangements and financial guarantees related to the Coyote Pass property, with Christine claiming she was asked to put her financial credibility on the line for purchases and improvements that would primarily benefit other family members. Sources suggest her memoir reveals that she signed paperwork and made financial commitments based on assurances about shared responsibility and future arrangements that allegedly were never honored as promised. What makes these revelations particularly damaging is Christine's reported assertion that she repeatedly questioned these financial arrangements, expressing concerns about the fairness and sustainability of various deals, only to be reassured by family members who allegedly knew full well that the financial burden wouldn't be distributed as originally promised. She claims to have documentation supporting her version of events, including records of payments she made and correspondence about financial arrangements that were later modified without her input. Perhaps most shocking of all are the alleged details about how certain family members continued making expensive personal purchases and lifestyle upgrades even as property-related expenses were supposedly straining the family budget. Christine reportedly writes about watching luxury items appear in some households while she was being told that money was too tight for basic property improvements that had been promised to her and her children. The financial shell game allegedly extended beyond just the property itself to include related expenses like temporary housing, storage costs, and moving expenses that were supposedly shared family responsibilities but ended up being individual burdens that fell heaviest on the wives, who could least afford them. Word is spreading through sister wives circles that Robyn Brown is absolutely spiraling over what Christine might reveal in her upcoming memoir, and honey, the alleged panic is real. Sources close to the family claim that ever since Christine announced her book deal and started teasing its explosive content, Robyn has been in full damage control mode, desperately trying to get ahead of whatever bombshells are about to drop when that memoir hits shelves in September. According to insiders, Robyn's anxiety reached fever pitch after Christine posted that cryptic message about having the courage to write what she did, because apparently Robyn knows exactly what secrets Christine was privy to during their years as sister wives. We're talking about a woman who reportedly spent years positioning herself as the innocent newcomer who just wanted to fit into the family, suddenly realizing that one of her former sister wives was about to potentially expose every calculated move she allegedly made to secure her position as Cody's favorite. The whispers suggest that Robyn has been frantically reaching out to various family members, supposedly trying to gauge what they might know about Christine's book content and whether anyone else might be planning to corroborate Christine's version of events. Sources claim she's particularly concerned about the financial revelations, because apparently there are receipts and documentation that could paint her in a very unflattering light when it comes to how Coyote Pass expenses were handled and who benefited most from various family financial decisions. What's allegedly driving Robyn to near panic is the realization that Christine wasn't just a passive observer during the family's most contentious periods. She was actively documenting and remembering conversations and agreements that Robyn probably assumed would never see the light of day. According to rumors, Robyn is discovering that Christine kept far better records of family financial arrangements than anyone realized, and those records allegedly tell a very different story than the one Robyn has been trying to maintain about her role in the family's financial decisions. Insiders claim Robyn has been particularly frantic about potential revelations regarding her influence over Cody's decision-making, especially when it came to property choices and financial priorities that affected all the wives. She reportedly knows that Christine witnessed numerous private conversations where Robyn allegedly pushed for arrangements that would benefit her at the expense of the other wives, and the thought of those conversations being detailed in a best-selling memoir is apparently keeping her awake at night. The timing couldn't be worse for Robyn because she's now the only wife left standing, which means any negative revelations about her behavior will land entirely on her shoulders without the buffer of other family drama to distract from her alleged misdeeds. The financial nightmare surrounding Coyote Pass allegedly gets even messier when you dig into the property liens and tax situations that Christine reportedly exposes in devastating detail throughout her memoir. According to sources familiar with the manuscript, Christine doesn't just hint at financial troubles. She allegedly provides a timeline of mounting debts, missed payments, and legal complications that painted a picture of a family spiraling toward financial disaster, while certain members continued living as if money grew on trees. Insiders claim Christine's book reveals that property tax issues began surfacing much earlier than the family publicly acknowledged, with certain lots falling behind on payments while other family expenses continued unabated. She reportedly writes about discovering that some family members were aware of these mounting tax obligations but failed to inform the wives who had financial stakes in the property, leaving them blindsided when legal notices started arriving and threatening the entire Coyote Pass investment. What makes these revelations particularly explosive is Christine's alleged assertion that she and other wives were asked to contribute additional funds to address these tax issues, being told it was a temporary family emergency that required everyone to pitch in, while simultaneously discovering that certain family members had been making expensive personal purchases throughout the same time period. Sources suggest her memoir details specific instances where she was asked to help cover property-related expenses while watching luxury items appear in households that claimed to be financially strapped. The lien situation allegedly became even more complicated when development costs started spiraling beyond original estimates, with Christine reportedly detailing how certain family members pushed for expensive upgrades and modifications that dramatically increased costs, without consulting the wives who would ultimately be expected to help pay for these enhancements. She claims to have documentation showing how initial budgets were repeatedly exceeded, as scope creep turned basic improvements into luxury amenities that primarily benefited specific lots. Perhaps most damaging are Christine's alleged revelations about how financial responsibility for various liens and obligations was distributed among family members, with sources claiming her memoir shows that certain wives ended up legally responsible for debts they never agreed to take on, while others somehow managed to avoid personal liability, despite benefiting from the improvements and developments those debts financed. The cascade effect of these financial pressures reportedly created a situation where some family members were forced to make increasingly desperate financial decisions just to keep their heads above water, while others continued enjoying comfortable lifestyles, seemingly insulated from the mounting crisis that was consuming the family's supposed dream property. Behind the carefully orchestrated family meetings and public presentations about Coyote Pass decisions, Christine allegedly witnessed a very different power structure at work, and according to sources familiar with her memoir, she's prepared to expose exactly how the real decision-making happened when the cameras weren't rolling. We're talking about a systematic breakdown of who actually held influence in the Brown family hierarchy. And spoiler alert, it apparently wasn't the democratic process that viewers were led to believe was guiding major family choices. Insiders claim Christine writes extensively about observing Cody's private consultations with Robyn before family meetings, where allegedly crucial decisions were already made before other wives were even brought into the conversation. She reportedly details specific instances where Cody would present options to the group as if they were open for discussion, when in reality the outcome had already been predetermined based on Robyn's preferences and concerns, leaving the other wives to essentially rubber-stamp choices they had no real voice in making. The power dynamic allegedly extended to financial decisions as well, with Christine claiming she witnessed numerous instances where Robyn's financial comfort and security were prioritized in ways that directly impacted resources available for other family members. Sources suggest her memoir reveals that when tough financial choices had to be made regarding Coyote Pass investments, the solutions almost invariably protected Robyn's interests while requiring sacrifices from the other wives and their children. What's particularly damaging about Christine's alleged revelations is her reported focus on how information was controlled and distributed within the family, with certain wives being kept in the dark about crucial developments, while others were apparently kept fully informed and consulted at every step. She claims to have witnessed situations where she and other wives were told that certain information was confidential or that they didn't need to worry about specific details, only to later discover that major decisions affecting their financial security had been made without their knowledge or input. Christine reportedly writes about watching this power structure solidify over time as Cody became increasingly unwilling to challenge Robyn's preferences or make decisions that might cause her discomfort, even when those decisions created significant hardships for other family members. The memoir allegedly details how this dynamic affected everything from property planning to financial priorities, creating a system where one wife's happiness was consistently prioritized over the collective good of the entire family. Perhaps most revealing are Christine's alleged accounts of attempting to address these power imbalances directly, only to be told she was being dramatic or that she didn't understand the complexities of the family's situation, responses that apparently became standard whenever she tried to advocate for more equitable treatment. The Coyote Pass debacle didn't just drain bank accounts and create financial chaos, it allegedly poisoned relationships between the sister wives in ways that Christine claims were both deliberate and devastating, according to sources familiar with her upcoming memoir. We're talking about a systematic breakdown of family unity that reportedly began with property decisions, but spread like wildfire through every aspect of the Brown family dynamics, creating resentments and divisions that would ultimately contribute to the spectacular implosion we witnessed on our screens. Insiders claim Christine writes extensively about how the unequal treatment regarding Coyote Pass decisions created a hierarchy among the wives that went far beyond the usual sister-wife competition for Cody's attention. She reportedly details how certain wives were consistently included in planning discussions, while others were relegated to receiving updates after major decisions had already been finalized, creating an inner circle versus outer circle dynamic that made genuine sisterhood impossible to maintain. The financial inequities allegedly made these relationship problems even worse, with Christine claiming she watched sister wives who had been asked to shoulder disproportionate costs become increasingly bitter toward those who seemed to benefit without contributing their fair share. Sources suggest her memoir reveals specific instances where family gatherings became tense affairs because certain wives were struggling financially due to Coyote Pass obligations, while others continued enjoying comfortable lifestyles funded by family resources. What makes Christine's alleged account particularly heartbreaking is her reported focus on how these dynamics affected the children, who apparently witnessed the growing tensions between their mothers and began taking sides based on which households were thriving versus those that were struggling. She claims to document how family events became increasingly strained as the adults tried to maintain appearances while dealing with mounting resentments about unfair treatment and broken promises. The trust issues allegedly became so severe that basic family communications broke down, with Christine reportedly writing about how she stopped sharing financial concerns with certain sister wives because she learned that information was being used against her rather than to find collaborative solutions. The memoir apparently details how the sister wives went from being allies navigating the challenges of plural marriage together to becoming competitors protecting their individual interests in an increasingly hostile family environment. Perhaps most damaging to the family's public image are Christine's alleged revelations about how these relationship breakdowns were hidden from viewers, with the wives reportedly being coached to present a united front for the cameras while their actual relationships deteriorated behind the scenes due to the ongoing stress and inequity surrounding their shared property investment. Now that Christine's memoir is just weeks away from hitting bookstore shelves, sources close to the Brown family claim that Robyn has shifted into full crisis management mode, allegedly working overtime to minimize the potential fallout from whatever bombshells are about to be dropped about her role in the Coyote Pass disaster. We're talking about a woman who reportedly spent years cultivating an image as the sweet, innocent sister wife who just wanted to blend into the family, suddenly realizing that her carefully constructed public persona might be about to get completely demolished by someone who witnessed her alleged behind-the-scenes maneuvering firsthand. Insiders whisper that Robyn has been frantically consulting with advisors about potential legal strategies to challenge any statements in Christine's book that might be deemed defamatory, though apparently her lawyers have explained that truth is an absolute defense to defamation claims, which allegedly has Robyn even more concerned about what Christine might reveal. Sources suggest she's particularly worried about financial revelations that could be backed up with documentation, because those kinds of concrete details are much harder to dispute or spin than general relationship complaints. The damage control allegedly extends beyond just legal considerations, with rumors circulating that Robyn has been reaching out to various media contacts and influencers in an attempt to get ahead of the narrative before Christine's book tour begins in earnest. She reportedly wants to position herself as the victim of unfair attacks from a bitter ex-sister wife, but apparently she's finding it challenging to craft that narrative when she's now the only wife who remained with Cody while all the others fled the family dynamic she helped create. What's allegedly driving Robyn to near desperation is the realization that she can't control this narrative the way she might have been able to manage family disputes in the past, because Christine is no longer bound by family loyalty or the need to maintain relationships with people who allegedly treated her unfairly. Sources claim Robyn is discovering that Christine kept far more detailed records of family interactions and agreements than anyone realized, and those records apparently tell a story that's very different from the version Robyn has been trying to maintain. The timing couldn't be more problematic for Robyn's reputation because she's now positioned as Cody's sole remaining wife, which means any negative revelations about her behavior will be directly associated with the family's ultimate outcome. If Christine's book suggests that Robyn's influence contributed to driving away the other wives, that's going to be a very difficult narrative for Robyn to overcome, especially when she's supposedly trying to build her own brand and public image separate from the sister wives' chaos. As we sit here counting down the days until Christine's memoir drops like a literary bomb on the sister wives universe, it's impossible not to wonder what other family secrets might be hiding in those pages beyond just the Coyote Pass revelations. If Christine truly had the courage to expose the financial shell games and power dynamics that allegedly destroyed her family's dream property investment, what else might she have found the strength to write about regarding her years in the Brown family circus? The ripple effects from these Coyote Pass revelations are already being felt throughout the polygamist reality television world, with other plural families reportedly taking notes about how financial transparency and decision-making equity can make or break a family's long-term stability. Christine's willingness to pull back the curtain on the messy financial realities of plural marriage could potentially change how these families operate going forward, assuming they learn anything from the Brown family's spectacular implosion. What's particularly fascinating about this entire situation is how it positions Christine as the ultimate truth teller in a family that spent years carefully managing their public image through strategic editing and selective revelation. Her memoir represents the first time we're getting an unfiltered, uncensored account of what really happened behind the scenes during some of the family's most contentious periods, and apparently she's not holding back when it comes to naming names and providing specific examples of behavior that contributed to the family's downfall. The implications for Robyn's future are particularly intriguing, because if Christine's book becomes the bestseller that publishers are apparently expecting it to be, Robyn might find herself dealing with a very different public perception than the one she's been trying to cultivate as Cody's loyal remaining wife. Having detailed allegations about your role in driving away sister wives and manipulating family finances isn't exactly the kind of publicity that builds a sympathetic personal brand. Perhaps most importantly, Christine's memoir could serve as a cautionary tale for anyone considering plural marriage or complex family financial arrangements, demonstrating how quickly trust can erode when transparency disappears and certain family members start prioritizing their individual interests over collective family welfare. The Coyote Pass disaster might become a textbook example of how not to handle shared investments and decision-making in any family structure, polygamist or otherwise. So what do you think Christine's book will reveal that has Robyn so allegedly panicked? And do you believe these Coyote Pass financial revelations will finally expose the truth about how the Brown family really operated behind their carefully constructed television personas? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I have a feeling we're going to have plenty to discuss once this memoir hits the shelves and starts spilling tea that's been brewing for years. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest Sister Wives drama analysis. And trust me, the next video on your screen is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.